So recently, there has been a splurge of indoor facilities coming across America. There's, I want to say Crossplex started this whole thing, but there's been some great facilities in Chicago and Virginia Beach. We had the Chicago director on the podcast a few months ago. We've had Washburn University's head coach. They built an amazing facility. And I'm so excited today. We're going to talk about another really amazing, great location for a track facility. We're going to talk about the Norton Healthcare Sports and Learning Center today. And we've got the sports events manager, but we're going to learn she's really track event manager here. Help me welcome today's guest, Miss Patti Hupp. Patti, how are you, sir?
I'm doing no.
You have already messed it up. No credibility
you're confusing
here.
People right off the bat.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm doing well. Thanks.
Patti, thank you so much. It's all live. We don't do any editing here. Someone's going to hear my flood.
Maybe you need more women on the podcast, Mike. I don't know.
Always. Absolutely.
No, that's
so
fine.
Patti, help us kind of give us let's start with a 30,000-foot view of this amazing facility there in Louisville. Kind of take us through what is the facility, what's it got, what are kind of some of the amenities, and just kind of help us kind of visualize this great facility.
Yeah, for sure. So this facility here was a dream that was started by the Louisville Urban League. We are on the west side of Louisville, so we are off of Market and Muhammad Ali. And it was started with a dream to bring something into this community that can service the community and its surrounding areas. And so as far as indoor tracks go, there just aren't a whole lot of indoor tracks, even in the state of Kentucky. So not only service the community, but even service the state in that way. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the dream started. There was all the money has been raised by people in the community, companies in the community, and we have an area downstairs that highlights that. And I love that. I love to highlight that on the tours, all the people that were so amazing to contribute to what we have here. So we are an indoor and outdoor facility. I don't think that makes us completely unique, but we are one of few that have that. I know Prince George, for example, in Maryland, I believe has both an indoor and outdoor, and I'm talking about in terms of private facilities here. Right. I'm not talking about colleges and things like that. So right. That's a little bit unique.
Absolutely.
So we have our 6 lanes that go all the way around. We have our hydraulic turns. It's a 17-degree turn radius, one of the fastest in the world. So we're super proud of that. We have our 8 lanes down the center. Those are 48-inch lanes in the center. And then we have our 8 lanes that can also be run on the side of the track. So when people come in here, they can make those choices. We also have an amazing throws area, and I love to highlight that on my tours. I don't know if you remember that I highlighted that on the tour when you were here at the facility. So shout out to my throws people, because throws so many times are just off somewhere else, or they have to get in a van, and drive somewhere. And I know all my throws people are probably nodding their heads on that. So I just love that the facility calls attention to the throws area. You can't not see it. And it's designed in here in a way that you can watch it from a lot of different vantage points. And so I love that the throwers are going to get that audience behind them. So I love that. We have a large screen on the north side and a smaller screen on the south side. So the results are displayed on either end. Absolutely gorgeous, top notch. We do have standards in the facility as far as how it needs to be live as results come and all those things. We want to hold a high standard. So whether you're in here for an elementary school meet or you're in here for a professional meet, we want that standard to be across the board. We want that to be consistent. One thing in the world of track and field, it can be inconsistent a little bit as far as how things are run and rules and stuff like that. So we want people to be able to come into our facility and know what to expect, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we also have a beautiful mezzanine, a 4,500 square foot mezzanine that overlooks the track. It's a lot bigger than it looks if you remember seeing that from the ground. And that's a great area for team camps we put up there. And I love it because the athletes can see what's going on. So often a team camp is, 10 cities away. And so the athletes are like, what's going on? What was that call? I didn't hear what they said, and all of that. So it allows them to see, it allows coaches to see that, to see what's going on in the track. So I love that. Our facility can fit 4,000 spectators. So that's one of the biggest in the United States. I think that there are a couple that are maybe slightly bigger, and I can't remember what facilities are slightly, but it is 4,000. Our facility does have the ability to also turn into different things. So we can have a conversion crew come in, clear out everything that has to do with track and field, and turn it into a 6,000 spectator concert.
Wow.
I'm still waiting for us to have our first people call us up and say they want to get married here, because a wedding here would be amazing.
Wait a minute. This is the perfect place for coaches to get married. Come on.
Exactly. Yes. And any athletes that, two
yes.
getting married, it's kind of, I like to call it an HGTV theme in here, because it's all like grays and whites, very Joanna Gainesy, if I can say that. So it just, so it works. It works. So I'm waiting for that, or, you can have a rehearsal dinner up in the mezzanine anyway.
Yeah,
so now I'm going to get like a million calls about weddings in the facility, which is okay.
You're right, though. That mezzanine area, that's a great point. I didn't think about that for a reception.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
It's phenomenal. So we also, very unique to our facility, if I'm not mistaken, we have a rock climbing wall area. Mm-hmm. It's not a super high one, but it's interactive. So it projects games on there that are touch, and just has a really fun area for kids to hang out. That actually is, if you rent the facility, it is open, and we staff that, and spectators can load a card and use that. And we all know it's no secret that track meets can be a long day. So when you have little sisters or brothers or whatever that are hanging out, that's a good place for them to go. Attached to that, we also have duck pin bowling. So 4 half lanes and these small balls, and that's all connected. That space can actually be rented separately for people here to, if you want to have a birthday party for your kid, or you want a team event, or a lot of times I'll tell clubs, hey, you can do your awards in here, all of that. We also have what's called our Humana Hub. And it's a meeting room. So we have community meetings in there, things for schools around here, like through JCPS, that's our Jefferson County school system. They come in there. So also during when school does open back up, that's an area that this is kind of the learning piece of our name, that kids can come and have internet access that might not have it, maybe get some tutoring there and all of that. So we're really trying to bring in that community piece in a really unique way. We know that some facilities like this are run by Park District, like up in Chicago, and that's great. I'm from the Chicago area. To shout out to all my people up there. I love the people at Gately. I've been there, and Craig is fantastic. I talk to him on a regular basis. And being from Chicago, of course, I have a heart for that facility and what they're doing on the South Side, and they need that programming there, and I love that. But here it's just looking at it just a little bit differently, as far as inviting the community in and doing different types of events and programming, things like that. So we also have the outdoor track, and we've had, just got finished up recently. So we had a couple meets out there. We've got 8 lanes all the way around. We've got everything, 4 jump pits, a steeplechase, pole vault can go either direction, has the ability, bathrooms are out there, water fountains, concessions can go indoor and outdoor either way. So it's phenomenal. Like, I walk in here every single day and walk down the hallway, just thank the Lord that I'm here. Like, I can't even believe this is my job. You know what I mean? My office is a world-class track every day. So it's crazy.
On the surface level, tracks are 400 meters or 200 meters indoor, with some exceptions, of course. Yeah. But each facility is unique in a lot of aspects, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We mentioned, shout out to our good friend Craig Collins up in Chicago. As a former coach in the Chicago high school coach in the Chicago area, I just love what that facility is going to do for its area, for the kids, for track and field. It has a learning center component as well. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal. Like, they knocked it out of the park when they built that one. What I love, when I got to visit the Norton, I almost called it Louisville Norton. I told you I was going to mess this name up.
No, that's
Norton.
okay. Hey,
we
want people to know where we're at.
I'm gonna start calling it the Norton,
Yeah.
which I should know this. Our CFO here, his name is Jay Norton, and
okay,
he did not donate any money, so this ain't his name rights at all. But but the Norton Center, what I loved about it was, first of all, sit the specialities of the indoor track aside for a second, but I loved walking in and how it was like a community center as far as the walkways, the bathrooms, etc.
Yes.
That wall in the bowling area was like totally unexpected. Like that was such a cool feature to add. The meeting rooms, and then specifically the meeting room right next to those areas. I thought, like, I was like, man, if Gil was based in Louisville, like we would absolutely have our annual retreats here. Like this is perfect, right?
Oh, for sure. And that's even an area during a track meet. Like when I give tours, it depends on who I'm giving a tour to. So if I'm giving a tour to a track coach, I'm saying, hey, these are the different ways that you can use the different areas we have. If I'm giving a tour for a gala, these are the different ways that you can use those areas, so that Humana Hub be a great place to have a coaches meeting, set up a continental breakfast, and let's put the schedule on. There's a dry erase board wall in there and all of that. So we like people to come in here and feel comfortable with the different ways that they can see their event. So like as much as I have the ability to be a meet director, I've been a meet director before, my job is to kind of take take your event and make it how you want it. You know what I mean? So give me as many details as you can give me. And then when it's showtime, I'm going to make sure that that's ready to go and it's all in place. So we don't want to boss people around, but it is our facility. So we want to say, hey, just this is what we've seen before. This is what we think works. So that meet day, boom, it's like butter. You know what I mean? It's running as smoothly as possible. And the other thing I want to highlight about the outdoor track, it's open to the community. And it has been so awesome. Like when I get here in the morning and I like to start my day early so I can, have an afternoon, because once track starts, like the indoor track season, I won't even have a life, let alone an afternoon. You know what I'm saying?
Every coach, anybody, officials, they're all shaking their head like, yep.
Yes, for sure.
That's our sport.
Yeah. So to walk in and just see like families and people in the community and the college students, implementing their summer training plans and all of that. And I just love to walk out there and introduce myself to people and just talk about their lives. And we get so much thanks from the community. Like, thank you for being here. And it's been great. People respect the property and love that it's there and love what's being done. So it's awesome. It's rewarding. It's really rewarding for me every day.
Yeah, I love the ability. You got to kind of visualize this. You got to go online and see a picture and videos of this. But so as you're on the indoor track, you go through a door to the outside, and bam, you're right there at the outdoor track. It's not separate. It is part of the facility.
Yes.
And we mentioned the throws area for the indoor. We'd be remiss not to mention that for the outdoor hammer cage. Yes. Right in the middle, not
gorgeous,
not acres over, not a bus ride over. It's
thank you for highlighting that. Yeah, that's
the track. True. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. So tell us more. So that's the physical side of the track. It's a beautiful 200-meter hydraulic bank, knocked it out of the park. I do love the
colors. It's Mondo. I want to shout out to Mondo, my people at Mondo. Phil Esposito up there in the Chicago area. I love him to death. Talk to him all the time. Adam Taylor. Up in Kenosha, that's my old stopping ground. So yeah, Mondo's been phenomenal.
I believe, I know for a fact, I think it was Athletic Business named the Norton Center an indoor track facility of the year, because we John Isaacs, the VP of sales at Mondo, and I celebrated together as being a Gil facility. So yeah, it was a great honor there for a great facility. So that's the physicality of it. Again, 200 meters, beautiful, great pole vault pits, high jump pits.
Top of the line.
And not just, it's not a commercial for Gil, but just the whole facility just knocked it out of the park. So you had mentioned elementary school meets. Obviously, I know what equipment got in there. You got the equipment that we use at the NCAA championships, the biggest, all that kind of stuff. What are the goals? And you also mentioned community. What are the goals for the facility in regards to track meets, the levels of track meets, camps, clinics, anything like that? What's kind of our mission here for Norton?
Yeah. So we really take a lot of pride in the variety of our events. We really, really do. We did not want this to be exclusive to anybody in particular, so we would be really amiss if elementary team came in here and wanted to host a meet and we said, we're just a college only facility. I mean, that, I don't know if anybody else does that, and that's not a knock on that per se, but in, talking about the community aspect, it's really important to us that everyone gets in here, because it is community. And when you think about how track and field works, I know being from Chicago and you're from that area too. I mean, that's huge up there. Like youth track is really big. And you look at we're all watching the Olympics right now. A lot of those guys, Raven Rogers, she has several records at the youth level, and that's where it all starts. And so it's really important to us that these kids get in here, and a lot of these young kids come in here and their eyes just bug out. You know what I mean? Their amazement is so cool to see when they come in. I remember before I was at this facility, my youngest daughter, she was just so enamored by it. And she's been all over, I drag her all over to track stuff. The poor kid. So yeah, it's really important that we have events across the board. So in all of our events, we're just about booked every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, even back to some Thursdays all throughout. And that goes anywhere from your youth, your young age group meets for USATF and all of that. And our local KT CCCA, they're hosting as well, to college. And when I say college, that means across the divisions as well. Of course, we have a lot of local colleges here, which is nice. We have U of L here, we have Spalding here, we have Bellarmine here, Midway's down the road. I mean, I can go through, there's, I'm not trying to leave everybody out. I love all my Kentucky
that's always
so please don't be
danger.
offended.
Yeah,
so
it's always the danger when you start making a list.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. Kentucky State. So anyway, we do have a lot of local colleges, and we love that, and we are so willing to work with every single one of them and have them in here. So I feel like when our schedule is out and when it's published, you're going to see that whole gamut of age groups and activities, and we love that. We think that's the best way to do it here.
It's super hard. I'm reminded of a good friend of mine, AJ Holzer. Shout out to AJ. He was the director of the crossplex for a long time. Actually was at Penn Relays and then came down to the crossplex.
Yeah.
And now is going to be running the new the track at New
Yeah,
Balance.
I just heard about that. Yeah.
And one of the things that he taught me early on the event management facility director side is a facility almost has to decide whether they're going to be a community center or they're going to be, I'm going to call it butts and bed center, meaning bringing revenue into the city. Because it's really, like he mentioned, it was really hard at the crossplex. They were a butts and bed facility. They brought in a massive amount of tax revenue for the city of Birmingham, and they're a city of Birmingham owned facility.
Yes.
So they're bringing in, they had an NCAA. They have an NCAA championship every year, huge meets, tons of conference. I mean, they have like almost a 2-week block where it's nothing but college conference meet, the Alabama State meet, middle school meets. To your point about some of the younger meets as well. So they're bringing in a lot of tax revenue. So when they first were doing that, it was hard that someone in the community in the neighborhood would come over and say, well, I'd like to do my walk on your track or run. And he was like, yeah, we don't have memberships. We don't do that. And it was hard to explain, like, yeah, your tax dollars help build this, but it's helping bring tax dollars in for the whole, it's good for all of us. So, so it's hard to balance that. Have you, knowing that we haven't been on the job for too long just yet, you really need a full season, right? To understand it all. But have you started seeing anything with that, or how are you balancing those two?
Yeah. So actually the great thing about that, going back to just that outdoor track area, just being able to tell people, you can come here. You know what I mean? We don't make people check in. We don't make people sign anything. We want to be welcoming. We, on the outside of the building, I don't know if you recall, but we have a green space even there that we put there for the community to be able to, put down a blanket and eat their lunch,
Oh,
throw a
yeah.
football, do all that stuff. And quite frankly, when tracks across the country, and I've traveled everywhere, for track and field, and a lot of times tracks are shut down. They're closed. And I'm talking about pre-COVID. Okay. So, we had the COVID thing. So I'm not talking about that. But I am talking about just it being locked up.
The accessibility.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell, there's a track up in Wisconsin where I used to live in. I'm not going to name the facility, but they have barbed wire. You know what I mean? At the top of the fence. And it's, shout out to my Wisco community, because I love you all. And I coached at Tremper High School for many years, but I mean, why does it look like it's a prison? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Is that to keep people out, or is that to keep the athletes from escaping
Yes.
track practice?
Well, here, that's so funny.
It's time to run the 4x4, Jimmy. I'm scaling the wall. I'm out of here.
Well, right. Like here, here's the dichotomy. And you can speak this too. I haven't seen a lot of vandalized tracks.
Right.
I mean, like not even open ones. I mean, being from Chicago, I don't know if you know about this, but there's a track downtown Chicago, right across from Water Tower Place. There's actually a track just right in the city. And it's the coolest thing. It's not competitive or it's nothing like that. But I mean, and it's been around, so it's old, but it's not vandalized.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think that people, part of any community, they understand that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't call and email me, people, and tell me like all these
right. You're gonna get all the horror
stories, please, but in my experience, to be clear, I haven't seen any tracks that have all the spray paint all over it, or, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it never happens, but I just feel like the community respects that, and they do want a place to be able to go with their families, and so even our long jump pits are open right now. I mean, if you want to come down and do some long jump, cool. Now we do have 24-hour security 7 days a week here, so if you're using any part of the facility in a way that is not the way it's supposed to be used, then we have conversations with people. We don't want the long jump pits aren't sandboxes. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you're 5 years old, that's exactly what it looks like. So we just make sure that but as long as people are using the facility in a way that it's meant to be used, and we're still able to protect, the investment for the community, then come on over. And if you're visiting Louisville, I do tours all the time. You walk in and you're like, hey, we're in from out of town, and I'm there and I'm available. I'm gonna take the hour's worth of time and I'm gonna give you the tour, because I want you to see it. I want you to use it whenever you're here.
And it's a really good tour, people. Let me just put that out there. Patti was my host a few weeks ago. And we got to explain a little bit of podcast time. We mentioned she was talking about Raven Rogers and some Olympics and things like that. So you're hearing this on August 16th. The Olympics are over. But last night and this morning, so I don't even know what today's date is. Today's August 3rd. So if you can think back 2 weeks ago, what happened on August 3rd, the 400 hurdles for men, which people are talking about. My Twitter timeline is just up for obvious reasons blown up, and people are speechless. I am literally, I have not made a single comment because I just can't. Like, I'm a hurdles geek, so I love the hurdles, and that was just I can't speak on it. And then this morning, well, first of all, and because I know you have connection, we got to give a shout out to the long jump. To the long jump. Yeah, women's long jump. Miss Reese getting the oh my gosh. Getting the silver medal. I mean, we throw around that word GOAT, the greatest of all time, a lot. Simone Biles, she's a GOAT, yes, for sure. Yes. But long jump, what's her Twitter handle? The long jump beast. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Brittany Reese. She, I don't know if I told you that I spent a little bit of time with her out at the Olympic training facility out in Chula Vista. And
she is the best. Like, I love her. Like, her personality is phenomenal, and she's like the best person to be around. And I'm so excited for her. And I do have to tell you though that I'm a little bit behind because of work on some of it. So I did know about Brittany, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh,
And
a
I'm so
spoiler
sorry,
alert.
Brittany.
I should have put the
care,
spoiler alert.
but I know. I'm trying so hard as I scroll through Twitter to like avert my eyes. But I am finding out results ahead of time. But
I'm taking the opposite approach because they're on at such odd times. And
I know.
Like my wife was like, "Oh, what time's that on?" I was like, "I don't know. I just turn the TV on. If I happen to catch it, I catch it." So I'm taking the opposite. Thank you for putting results on Twitter, people, because that's the only way I'm really getting results. In fact, shame on me. I did not get to see the men's 400 hurdles live. I had to watch it on video this morning when I woke up. So
I just finished the semis last night, but I did see. So was there a weather situation or something?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The women's, tons of rain during the discus, women's discus, women's pole vault, and women's 400 hurdles specifically. I think those were all going on kind of at the same time, and just, downpour. Wow. Ridiculous. Like a little girl was like, "Isn't that dangerous?" And I was like, well, I was like, "It's not dangerous."
Yeah. I did have the opportunity though. I did tear up. I'm not gonna lie. I do like to be a tough girl, but I did cry when I saw the result in the high jump, how those guys decided to share.
What was your thought on it? So you liked it. You thought that was the Olympic
being a high jump coach, a jumps coach. It was my son who high jumped for University of the Cumberland. So and he was a state medalist up in the state of Wisconsin. He's I was on the phone with him. He's like, did you see what happened in high jump for the first time ever? I'm like, oh, I haven't seen it yet. So then I saw it, and my initial reaction was to cry, to tear up because of that decision. I know, right? I'm still a tough girl, Mike. Okay. But just so you know, but it was because what a hard decision to make. How beautiful that they decided to do that.
And I guess there was a connection between those two. Like, I guess the Italian had been hurt, and Bashir, who has been an amazing high jumper for quite a long time now. He's amazing. And still looks like he's like an 18-year-old. Like, he's so young looking. Like, I love him.
Gosh, I know.
But I guess those two really helped each other going through injuries and stuff like that. So there was kind of a kinship between them. Now, I at first am one of the people that didn't like it.
Really? Okay.
Because I thought the rule didn't allow it. And so honestly,
yes. My
fear was when they said it's
you can do that. What?
Well, because you heard the way the official actually didn't say it. He was kind of starting to explain it. And then Bashir was like, "Can we just have 2 golds?" And then they celebrated and went on. I was really fearful, no, the rules Nazis are going to come in here and say that that's not legal, and they were going to muck this whole thing up. But then someone explained on the officials Facebook page, which is one of my favorite groups on Facebook, that in the World Athletics rules, that is allowed, that both athletes can agree to stop the competition, and the results are the results. So then I was like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm all,
Yeah. So I
just
don't
fearful.
know. Yeah, I haven't seen that happen on a high school level or anything, but I do know in high school there is when it's down to 2, there's always that conversation that those 2 people get to have as far as where the bar goes and all that. So I
believe the Facebook officials page said that the NFHS and NCAA do not have that same concession, if you will.
Okay. No, I didn't think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe that can change.
This is how you change it.
Right. I'm a mom too. So I was just kind of like, oh, it's cute.
Yeah.
So
I loved the sentimentality of it. I was just very fearful, some head official, and this is not a knock on officials. This is just, hey, here's the rule book, boys and girls, and it says you cannot do that, so they're both disqualified, which would have been travesty, right? Travesty. So that was my first fear. And then as soon as someone explained the rules, oh, okay, well, I'm all good, man. That's awesome. It's good for them, man.
Right. And it's so funny because for those who know me really well, even I think of Robert Kearns, who is one of the best officials shout out to him. He's amazing. But if he was listening to me right now, he'd be like, Patti, you're such a rules girl, and I am, you know what I mean? You would think that I would be mad in the first place. And I've done my duke outs with the officials before in the past for sure. But I love that was part of the rules, because it was great. And then that Italian got to celebrate with his teammate when his teammate run the 100. I mean, the timing just,
we could
amazing.
make this an entire Olympic, and the Olympics aren't even over when we're recording, by the way. So we could make this an entire Olympics, because I agree that 100-meter competition was amazing. Shout out Fred Curley. What an awesome bet on yourself confidence move,
oh my
man.
gosh,
Loved it.
Yeah.
I saw last comment on the Olympics, and we'll move forward. I
know, right? We
saw,
need to set up a different podcast
absolutely.
for Olympic recap.
Because I'm super pumped for the 400 hurdle women tonight. That's going to be three Americans in the finals. But someone tweeted out, can we stop calling Fred Curley a 400-meter runner who ran the 100? Can we just call him a sprinter? I mean, and it's the truth. It's like, look, man, the guy's just an athlete, just a sprint. 4x1, 4x4, 100, 400, 200. Heck, guy, I guarantee you can do the 800 if he wanted to.
Yeah, Fred Curley's so cool. I was
Probably
actually at the USTFCCA convention for the Bowerman that year when he was there, and just he's an amazing personality, Fred Curley. Like he's a fun guy. So
good. I love when good things happen to good people.
Yes, for sure.
So speaking of good people, that's my segue here.
Okay, awesome.
This facility is amazing. If you're not following me on Twitter, and I'm literally just at Mike Cunningham. So I did the week after I had this amazing tour, I posted pictures and I think maybe a video too up there. Let me tell you what, tons of like tens of thousands of views on those photos. People are jacked up for this facility. Let me tell you. So go on my Twitter, find that if you want to see some pictures as well. If there's tons of pictures online and things like that. We're going to get a schedule released here. We're excited to see the track meets that are coming. So that's all well and good. And anybody can build a building. Let's demystify this here a little bit. Just like anybody can have a track program, etc. It's the people, in my opinion, anyway. It's the people that actually make something special, right? Oregon just built an amazing facility, but we always talk about the fans and the stands at Oregon and the coaches and the athletes and things like that. It's the people that are the not even the cherry on top. It is the whole thing, in my opinion, right?
Yeah, it's the glue. It's the glue for sure.
So Patti, you're running this, and you've alluded to this a little bit. You got any track background here, or are you just some kind of facility director and no coaches aren't going to know anything?
Just a little bit.
Well, let's explore that, because people are going to be coming to the facility as coaches with their teams and maybe thinking about having a meet there, hosting a meet, things like that. So let's dig in a little bit in your background here. So where is track in your life? How did it start? When did high jumper? What are you?
No, you don't want to. Yeah, well, I demoed high jump not too long ago to my club, and I think I cleared a 310. I'm just saying, I think I was 40. So that
was English numbers, 310, not metric. That was in 3.1.
No, oh gosh, yeah, clarify that. Yeah.
Hey, and sadly, I think that still would have beat me. Let's just put that out there.
Okay. So definitely not a high jumper. My son, who is a high jumper, is about 6'4". So so definitely not. So if we want to go way back to where I first realized that track was the most amazing sport in the world, I'm going to go back to when I was 12, sixth grade, field day at J Stream. In Carroll Stream, where I grew up. We had a field day, and you're out there on the grass and you're racing your friends, and I won. And that was, I'm like, this is it right here. I mean, this is where I want to be. So my dad, actually, he ran track. He went to Notre Dame boys school up in the Chicago area. So that's, so he had a track and a football background. And so he really encouraged us. He had 4 sisters and 3 daughters and female dogs. Okay. So
wow.
So that's, so he is just a huge proponent for women, and me and my sisters, we grew up with that, and awesome. Just, told us we could do anything we wanted to do. And so he has 3 successful daughters that work in 3 different arenas. And so that's where that started. And so I ran in junior high, and I ran in high school. My first 3 years of high school, I was at Wheaton Academy, out in West Chicago. And then my senior year, I actually transferred to Glenbard North High School in Carroll Stream. And there I had Coach Dave Burtis. He does not coach there anymore, but he is so much inspiration behind what I do. He was an amazing coach. We were DVC champions for many, many years, DuPage Valley Conference, which you're probably familiar with. Coach Heilers, who is still there, I believe, at Glenbard North. Coach Beebe, who is no longer there, who is the hurdle coach. Coach Burtis was your tough coach kind of guy. Okay. I mean, like, if you messed up and he started walking your way, you did not want that. Okay. You did not want that. But, and so he was tough. But man, he cared. I mean, he really did. He cared about us girls. And, it was in Illinois, and I think they still do this. It's usually girls track and boys track are separated. Is that pretty much okay?
Yeah. I know, like the state meets and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So he really inspired me, in my coaching. I took a lot of my coaching style from him. You direct and love on the inset. And when you have to be tough, you are, tough and straightforward, but you're still coming around on the backside and making sure that they know that you care about them. The development as not only track and field, athletes, but as people. So I love that. So then I ended up running for college for Indiana Wesleyan University in Marion, Indiana. Way back then, they were one of I want to say one of the first premier Mondo outdoor facilities. That was back in 1995. They had an outdoor Mondo track there. And so once I saw that, that's where I was signing.
So, and by the way, we're the same age, so be careful with the way back then stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Come on now. I was right. You're like way back when. I was like, wait a minute, we're the same age.
Yeah, that's true.
Wait
Well, I know there's a lot of younger listeners, so that's what they would call it. That's what my kids call it way back
exactly.
when.
Yeah. My kids are like, it's the ancient times.
Yes, yes.
So you had some great role models, obviously, as a high school athlete.
Yep.
When you went as you're looking at colleges and you ended up at Indiana Wesleyan, great school there, was coaching in your mind at all, or was there another career path at that point for you?
It's interesting because that's an interesting question, because I also, at that time, as I've talked to you about before, I grew up in the restaurant business. That's what my dad did. And he actually in Wheaton, I don't know if you know Wheaton well or not, but there was a bowling alley called Wheaton Bowl. And there was, and if you go to Wheaton North, any high schoolers out there, I mean, it was right next to, that was kind of the hangout, during that time. And so Wheaton Bowl had a restaurant attached to it. And somebody bought that restaurant and brought my dad in as a consultant, and it had a banquet facility. My dad designed that whole place and named it and everything. It was called Argyle's Cafe. And he, with the banquet part, that was kind of the event part. And my dad, both my mom and dad, are very much born leaders. And so they taught us about excellence. And I grew up in faith in the Lord, and just having that base where they taught us, hey, you do things excellence. You take what God gave you and you use that. You know what I mean? You don't bury your talents. You do this. You know what I mean? And my parents and they got married at a young age. They were 16 and 18 years old and had 3 kids by the time, they were young 20s, and they worked, you know what I mean? They worked for it, and they made sure, they have since completed their college educations, and they're very successful, but they spent that time, and said, we're going to show these girls how to be strong leaders in this world, and that they can do anything. And my parents were like, we're going to work our butts off so that they can have opportunities that we didn't have. And so it was awesome actually, because we worked for my dad at that restaurant, and every weekend there were banquets, and he needed people to work the banquets. And so every weekend we got to hire our friends. So my dad would say, hey, I need 8 people tonight. I need you to bring in these 8 people. And people would gather around our lockers, and we'd go, you. And we'd bring them in, and they got paid for the night. And it was a way to kind of, I think my mom and dad would say now, it was a way to keep you guys out of trouble. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They knew what we were doing, and we served people with our friends, and got paid for it, and had a great time, and got a free meal. And so that's what we did every weekend. So
I love how you were recruiting at such a young age.
I
You're
know.
like, all right. Well,
That's true.
Little Johnny, I've worked with you before. You're not that great.
You know
so
what? We were
Billy
on a
and
project
Susie.
together, and you didn't pull your weight, so you're out. So
Shout
so
out to
that
mom and
kind
dad.
of built the base for that, I think. And then when I saw the leadership of Mike, and I was in love with track and field. I mean, I was, as you know, I mean, my tours take a long time because I don't stop talking. So I don't know if that discourages anybody, but if you love track and field and you want to talk about track and field all day, I'm going to do that. So then I went to Indiana Wesleyan. Coach John Faust, amazing. If you haven't gotten a chance to meet him, go over to Indiana Wesleyan and meet Coach John Faust. He is still around, and he is one of the kindest, most humble human beings that I have ever seen. A very different kind of coach than my high school coach. So I was able to take what my high school coach was, what my college coach was, and glean from those different styles.
What was kind of the difference there? I think we kind of get a sense of the
man.
high school coaches. What was Coach John Faust's?
So he just, now you knew when John Faust was serious, but man, it was the humility and the kindness and the love that came from him. I mean, I could have done a lot of things, and he would have still cared no matter what. You know what I mean? I mean, if I had been an athlete that struggled with, I don't know, some kind of addiction or something, I mean, he would be right there counseling you. Wow. Because he believed in that counseling aspect, is that, hey, you know what, people struggle, Patti, or people sin, or people this, but I care about you. And it just, anybody who went to Indiana Wesleyan, he has coaches actually all over the country. I don't know if you know Eric Jackson. Eric Jackson. Shout out to Eric. Love that guy. We were on the Indiana Wesleyan team together, and he has a timing company called Crossroads Timing. Does a phenomenal job. So if you need a timer, he's a great timer up in that Indiana area. But he would tell you that same thing. I mean, anybody that you talk, there is no one, I would wager to say, that would say, oh, you know what, I didn't really like John Faust. I coached at Brescia University this past season and worked with Luke Stoffel, who was the head coach here, who also went to Indiana Wesleyan, and we both came from that, and he would echo the same things. So I was able to take that with me, and then from there, I got married in college, and still ran and continued my competitive years in the distance running sector, even though I would not call myself a distance runner. I ran the 200 and 400, but I did run the Chicago Marathon and was short just by a few minutes in my age group of qualifying for the Boston. So I think that's pretty good for a sprinter.
Wow. Yeah, dude. So what did you end up getting your degree, and what was the career path?
Yeah, so interesting. I actually started out in athletic training. So I did a couple years of that. And for some reason, at one point, I really did love it. It gave me a really good base knowledge that I still use today, with athletes and stuff. But I really felt like God was calling me into teaching. I just felt like that is where my talents lie, is teaching and leading others. And so I switched majors. Actually, I need to go back. I actually came in as pre-law. I know, right? Yeah. I wanted to be a lawyer since like the 6th grade, came in as pre-law. But I hate to say this, and this is so shallow, but I switched because the main professor that taught the law classes, I just didn't jive with him. Like I couldn't,
Mhm.
and he was a good guy, you know what I mean? A lot of people loved him, but I'm like, I can't do classes with this professor for the rest of my, and I know that sounds so shallow, but
Well, no, I think that's actually really smart, right? In regards to when we talk about that people make up the world, right? And that's the most important
right,
aspect. So, law, pre-law, it wasn't just the subject matter, like it has to be taught by someone, and there has to be
right.
some level
Yeah,
of, I don't want to say tolerance necessarily, but there has to be,
there does.
you were the word jive, there has to be some jiveness, even if it's just bland, like, okay, that's my professor, I don't have a direct connection to him, but it certainly can't be a negative connection,
Right. No,
right?
you're right. You're right. So yeah, I mean, that's true. I certainly wouldn't, encourage any college person to go through 4 years and absolutely be hating their experience, because of
Exactly.
the professor. So, if you need to transfer, then transfer. So yeah, I switched and I was able to, so I switched majors, went to elementary education,
Hmm.
and then ended up getting married my junior year. 10 months later, I got pregnant with my oldest,
Mhm.
and actually, was about 8 weeks pregnant and still finishing up my senior track season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that not, you couldn't tell her anything at that point, but and I got severely, I ended up, after I graduated, I got severely sick with that pregnancy, and then had to go through at an extra semester because I had switched majors, did a student teaching stint in Kokomo, Indiana, and in Huntington, Indiana, and pulled over on the side of the road and threw up a fair amount. So
Oh,
that was kind of my experience.
hey,
I graduated.
but way to stick with it. I mean, you just
Yes,
you
well,
just had a
thanks.
lot of excuses right there that anybody would be like, oh, I can see why she didn't graduate. Come on, she was going through this,
Yeah,
and
well,
you stick through it. That kind of sounds like some mom and dad principles there. Hey,
definitely.
you got to stick to it. You set a goal, now go hit the goal. And yes,
Yes,
there's always going to be bumps in the road. This was a pretty big
definitely.
bump, but you still made it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely. And then, yeah, so graduating in December, I was due in the beginning of February. So you can imagine what I looked like in a graduation robe. Oh my gosh. I looked like a tent. It
You
was
looked like an
terrible.
awesome graduate. That's what I think you look
Oh,
like.
I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. Well, like pregnant ladies now wear all this nice tight fitting stuff. I wish they had something that just, showed off that, anyway, it was not a good look for me, but
My wife would
it's
be
fine.
cracking up if she knew I was having a discussion around pregnancy, because I'm not a fan. And I don't mean that in any
Oh,
negative. It's just I can't my wife, God bless her, thank God she was so
mm.
strong to have 2 kids. I was not the stereotypical good husband that was in the room when the babies were delivered, the whole nine.
Okay,
I'm
hey,
terrible.
no
I'm
judgment.
terrible. I'm
No
terrible.
judgment.
Terrible.
Yes.
Luckily, my kids are as normal as you can be to be one of my kids. But yeah,
Yes,
she'd be cracking
yes.
up if she heard this conversation.
So
Yeah.
at that point, I spent time being a mom, and
Good.
then had my second child, Emma. She's 2 years later, was even sicker with her.
Oh man.
Ended up at Central DuPage Hospital with an IV. Lost 25 pounds in my first trimester. Anyway, crazy. Yeah, it was something else. So then the doctors told me that my body was kind of allergic to the HCG hormone that was produced in pregnancy. This is a lot of medical information that
Yeah,
may or may not want to know, but whatever.
we turned into
So
Grey's Anatomy here.
it did a little bit. So yeah, and then so they said, that it's something that I could die from in childbirth. So I wanted to just generally avoid death in that way if I could. So yeah, our youngest is adopted from Africa, from Zambia,
Awesome.
Africa. So you get less sick that way, I guess.
No allergic there.
No allergic there. Yeah. So that's kind of my family background. So yeah, just spent time with my kids for a while and taught and stuff, but really tried to stay up on track as much as I could, being that I still wanted to be home for my kids. And then at that point, I started, when they were young, taking coaching opportunities. So I started a program up in Sycamore, Illinois at Cornerstone Christian. And they still have a program going still today. And then we were in Connecticut, and I started a program there at a private school as well. And then I ended up back in Kenosha, where my youngest daughter, the one that is from Zambia, I noticed had some run skill. Her form is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. She has incredible form and just had a natural knack for running. And so we put her in a club on the Illinois side. And throughout that process, and I'm not going to name the club or anything, but there were just some things that I was concerned about with that club from a track perspective. And so it dawned on me, what am I doing? Like, I could just do this. You know what I mean? I could just start this myself. Why am I not doing that? So I started my own club called the Kenosha Flyers in Wisconsin, and ran that for 8 years and became one of the biggest clubs in the state of Wisconsin. Wow. And we were very successful. And in the meantime, got a head coaching job at Tremper High School. So I kind of, double dutied that within the rules. And and during that time, I did a lot of USATF training. So I have 3 USATF level 2s, in which phenomenal coaches, if you have not had the experience to do a USATF level 2, especially once they get back in person, it's phenomenal. I have just so many coaches connections through that, so many opportunities to learn from some of the best coaches in the world, bar none. Also, USATF awarded me with a scholarship grant, a mentor grant for females. And that's, so I chose Jeremy Fisher, who is just
awesome.
Phenomenal. If I could hang out with you, Jeremy, if you're listening every day of my life, I would. He is just phenomenal in the work that he does with all those guys, Katura and Brittany and all those guys out there. Is just, so I got to spend 3 or 4 days with him. I actually knew him because he had been an instructor in some of my USATF level 2s. One that I did at IMG, and then one that was at Marion College.
Yeah.
And
Marion down in Indianapolis.
Yes. So, so I got to go out to the Olympic Training Center actually for the second time, because I did the first ever USATF cross country specialist course with Joe Vigil and Scott Christensen.
Yeah.
Scott. So good. Like, those guys are just unbelievable. So that was my first experience at the training center. Then I went back and worked with Jeremy, and just, it was phenomenal. So he's my mentor, and I reach out to him a lot of times when I have any questions, or if I need a good reference. I think that's a good reference to have. So
I love the mentors and mentees around you. V Hill, you mentioned, who's, the godfather of coaching education. We've talked a lot about coaching education here in the past on the podcast. By the way, if you are wanting to host a level 1 and you're in the Louisville area, that facility, your facility there with that room would be perfect. Like, literally,
I'd love that.
Perfect parking, a track space, meeting room space, AV, etc. That'd be a great place. As someone who's hosted tons of level 1s in the past, that would be an amazing spot. Talk to me. We had a conversation when I was in Louisville last about your club, and you kind of expressed what I thought was maybe a unique way of how you, if I remember correctly, of how you kind of staged and even, using that word mentor, your older athletes with some of your younger athletes.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think that could be some value for people listening. Talk to us about that structure you had set up.
Yeah, so let me first talk about the fact that a lot of times clubs, especially if you spend any time in the track Twitter world, clubs get a bad rap, right? I mean, they do. They get a bad rap for whatever, I don't know, stealing athletes or trying to make money off of athletes. Look, the club coaching industry, it's hard work. It is. I mean, I put in a good 40 to 50 hours as a club coach. And for those of you who feel like you can't charge kids for club, I mean, it's a job, guys. I mean, it is. And track and field is a sport that just, I think we talked about this, that the pay isn't there for track and field, for really hard work, for very qualified people. Okay. So this idea that we can't make a living off of our passion and off of our work is, that's not fair. I mean, I just find that just a ridiculous assessment. And I'd love to talk to people who are interested in how to do that. But so it was really important for me when I started my club to not be some sort of exclusive club that only wanted older elite athletes. You know what I mean? I wanted to develop these kids. Okay. So I don't care who you are, where you came from, if you've ever run before in your life, if you're willing to come and do the work, let's get it. Let's go from point A to point B, and see where you can go. So it was open from ages 8 to 18. And what I was noticing as I had these different groups is that the fact of the matter is, I could have divided them by age group, right? And a lot of clubs do, but the fact of the matter is
common, right? Yeah,
exactly. But the fact of the matter is, I had some pretty young athletes that were pretty darn good. So, for example, my youngest daughter was running the 800 in the 9-10 age group, and she was already running a 235. So, so she can keep up with some high school athletes, you know what I mean? And the same, even my middle daughter who was young at the time, same thing, running around those same times with high schoolers. So we decided to ability group. So, and we talked to the kids about those age factors, and high schoolers needed to get around the fact that it was, there was going to be a 10-year-old next to them pushing them. Because when you get to high school, you got freshmen running against seniors, and that's the reality in the same heat, unless you're, club kind of divides it by age, but so that's just keeping it real there. So we did that. And in that, we were able to create relationships within those age groups. And so it really was the coolest thing. And those kids still talk about that to this day. And those friendships between those kids still remain. So what would happen is, you'd have your group of 800 runners, for example, and you'd have a 9-year-old and you'd have an 18-year-old. And so we would just charge those older kids with, hey, when we get to the meet, I need you to keep an eye on this. I need you to listen for the calls and teach them, hey, guys, first call, this is what we're going to do. And second call, okay, get your spikes on. Hey, it's time for warm-ups, those types of things. And they did it without complaint, and would grab these kids by the, not grab, you know what I mean? Take these, don't grab kids. Okay. Just let's not.
Now we're getting to the real problem with the commercial flyers. No, you're right.
Oh
you're
my.
right. Yeah.
You take kids by the hand and bring them over and help them affix their number, and these are where the hip numbers go. And just that process, a matter of fact, kept me from running around like a crazy person and my other coaches, and got those kids to take some responsibility, and just showed them those leadership skills. And then that helped those kids grow up and be leaders. And when you watch over 8 years, kids that came in as 8-year-olds, and when I left and came here, I left and they were 16-year-olds, to be able to see how that process worked. It was incredible. It really was. And I don't know if it's unique to me. Okay. So I'm not, that's not copyrighted or anything, but I took my elementary, I was an elementary school teacher. So I took some of that, what I knew about educating young kids, and I was able to apply that. And that's why I think I told you before, this job that I have here at this facility is this perfect, weird balance of my restaurant experience, my teaching experience, and my track experience. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I had struggled with some of that, like as a female coach, I'll tell you, and this is not woe is me, and I'm not whining, but like, female coaches are oftentimes not well respected. If I'm being honest, they're not. My dad coached with me. Actually, I hired him as my hurdle coach. So that was super cool. I worked for him, and then he worked for me. One of the best hurdle coaches in the country, bar none. And he has just worked in high school and done private coaching. But let me tell you, if any college out there needs a hurdle coach, you can call my dad, Don Faber, because I promise you, he watched my sister, Kelly Faber, and you might know the name, and Illinois people might know the name Kelly Faber. She was one of the best hurdlers of all time in the state of Illinois. She actually raced Dawn Harper, quote, back in the day. I know you don't like that terminology, but she raced Dawn, and she ended up, she went on scholarship to University of Louisville. So that's my connection to Louisville here. And she was a hurdler for them. So my dad spent years and years and years. My dad is a studier. He is just a studier. and he studied the hurdles, and I mean, he's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's a shameless plug for my dad. But anyway, my dad sometimes would be standing next to me at a meet, and people would come up and assume that he was the head coach. And my dad is, I already talked about my dad in the background. I mean, my dad would be like, no, that she is the head coach, and just point in the direction. And then you just, kind of get this look, and then, but he taught me that confidence to hold my own as that female head coach. And yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there were times in my coaching career that, I'd come home and, have a good cry with my husband about how I was treated in the coaching environment, within even the buildings that I was in. And it was really tough.
Yeah. And
actually the Tremper job, I had been coaching middle school at the time. And my husband kept saying, hey, this Tremper job is open, apply for this. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. He applied for me. Yeah. And then I get a call. I'm like, what the heck was that?
That's
He's like,
awesome.
oh yeah, I applied for this job for you. I'm like, what are you talking about? So shout out to my husband, Steve. He's amazing, and just another male in my life that just thinks I can do literally anything. And my kids are the same way. They were always, my daughter Emma was always like, Mom, you should be a college coach. I don't understand why you don't apply for college stuff. You should be doing it. And so just the support that I've had from my family and my close friends, with all of this, when I really wanted to give up and I wanted to just go sit in a hole and cry, because people sometimes were awful. You know what I mean? People seriously were awful sometimes, but I had some great males in my life that came around, even shout out to, I don't know if you know, Adam Kokenhofer. He is the director of track and field at Bruton Parker, and he recruited me to come coach for him. It didn't work out because there were just some things with my husband's job, and he and I say we're going to work together someday. But Adam Kokenhofer, amazing recruiter. He was just, he goes, Patti, one of the things that stuck out to me on your Twitter when I was looking for a coach is I saw the first thing you have on your Twitter. It says confident female coach. And he goes, anybody that can put that on their Twitter, I know I want to work with that kind of person. And so he was a huge encouragement to me from a coaching perspective. Luke Stoffel, who I worked for at Brescia University, he's Matt Esche, the guy you and I have in common. He has been such a support for me as well. Rhonda Riley, who started the female mentorship programming. She actually paired me up with Makiba Batten, who was up in Michigan. And I did a mentor stint with her in the throws, and she is phenomenal. So all these people who just kept seeing what I was doing, and I'm not nationally known or anything, you know what I mean? I don't, whatever. I'm not trying to claim that I'm the best. I have a good resume, but I'm not the best. I mean, the reality is, I got overlooked for some jobs that, 22-year-olds got, and you know what I mean? And no offense against 22-year-olds, but I'm kind of like, man, I have the resume to do this, and just kept praying that one day somebody would see my resume and say, hey, I think this girl can do this. This girl can. The hard thing about college was you got to coach college to coach college. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. You know what I mean? Or when you get grad assistant jobs, these young coaches, they're smart, right? They're a grad assistant for the place they're at. And then you learn that programming, you go through the ranks there. But I'm going to be 44. You know what I mean? And so people are like, well, she hasn't coached any college. But but I've done so much. Why is that being overlooked? So I don't understand that. I don't understand in the industry of track and field why we don't want to pay for experience as much anymore. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think there has to be a better push for that.
So much to unpack right there, Patti.
Yeah, I know. I talked too much
it's all good. These are great topics. They are important topics.
Yeah.
Not only because they're important topics, but the goal of this podcast is to uplift and honor your journey. So they're important topics to you and what you've been through and are going through and will go through, and not only go through in a negative way, like what the experiences that you'll continue to have and give to others. So one, I want to take a step back. the reason on that club coaching and your kind of mentorship model, if you will, that I wanted to bring that up is, as much as we love track and field and we love to brag, and that's a good term about, our kids that go through our club or our high school and they go on to college, and, for very few of us, right, we're lucky enough that those kids will go on to the Olympic or professional level.
Yeah.
That's all well and good, but we're talking about such a small amount of people, right? There's a small amount of people that go from high school to college track and field. So what I loved about your style, if you will, with your club coaching model there is you were teaching, and you hit on this a couple of times, this really key important word, leadership. You were teaching young people leadership. So no matter what athletically they went on to do or not do, most of them, would you agree with me that most of them did not go on to compete in college? Correct? I mean,
well, I had a fair turnaround, but I mean, probably. Yeah, it's probably true.
But they all went on, whether they all went to college or went into the workforce or went into adulthood, they all went on to become mothers, fathers, teachers, leaders, doctors, lawyers. Maybe they had a better connection with their pre-law professors. They went on to be lawyers. But they all went on to become, at least have the opportunity to become leaders. And that is what you were teaching there. That to me was the most important part, because again, athletics ends at some point, and for most of us, it ends in high school. So to have that leadership lessons from that was, I just love that. That's why I wanted to make sure we brought that up. The second part that you brought up there, I hear this, I don't want to overstate it and say I hear it quite often, but I have heard of that example of the female head coach standing next to their male assistant, and an official, and I'm not picking on officials, or an athlete or a parent will come up and look at the male and be like, hey, so we need your relay card, head coach. And it's like, actually, she's the head coach there, right? So on one hand, no excuses here of the ability of a female or male to be a head coach. I do wonder sometimes, and again, this is not an excuse, do not hate Twitter me, people, if do not make sure we hear this correctly. I do wonder, because the bulk of coaches are males, right or wrong, maybe wrong, that it's just the natural tendency to look at the male as the head coach. So and this is coming from a male, so this is probably incorrectly skewed here. But like when I hear that story of someone came up, there was a male and female standing there, and they looked at the male and assumed that was head coach. I actually have zero issues with that. Here's where I would have an issue. Stop tweeting. I know you're tweeting me right now. So hold on. Listen to the rest of the story. If when it's explained, oh, hey, awkward for you, but actually she's my head coach, she needs to do the relay card or whatever. If that person then continues to talk to the male of like, well, that would be an issue to me. It's like, hold up now. I just told you this is my head coach.
Yes.
You need to direct everything through her. That's what, so I don't have a problem with someone makes a mistake, because the majority of coaches are males at this point in time. It's if after being corrected, the issue still stands, then it's a whole different, like, okay, there's something going on with you. You're clearly not hearing me. This is my head coach. You need to talk to her with respect, by the way. So
well, I had a situation where I came into a coaching situation with male athletes, so the athletes that had not had a female coach. And that was rough. I mean, that was a little rough at first, because it was very apparent that was the reason. Okay. Just commentary wise, actions wise, how they treated male coaches in comparison to me as a female coach. And you just feel this, like, like you got to pass out your resume or something, which is ridiculous. Like, I mean, like, obviously, you know what I mean? But it's just kind of like, I'm sorry. Like, can you ask some questions here? Or?
And that's where it takes leadership from everybody, right? So the male assistant coaches have to be like, hey, look, junior, I guess I understand you don't like that she's a female and she's your head coach, or she's your event specific coach.
Yes.
But tough, because you're more than likely, as you, again, this leadership principle of beyond athletics, you're more than likely you're going to go to university and have a female professor or a female advisor. And when you get to the workforce, it's fairly 50-50, or hopefully we're getting to a point where it's fairly 50-50 that your boss could be female. So you are going to have to, they're not going to have to
Exactly.
change. You're going to have to change. You got to
Yeah,
figure
exactly.
this out.
And you're
And so,
right. It does take that
yeah,
instruction,
yeah.
if the head coach would have had, knowing I was coming in, you know what I mean? Maybe had a conversation. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe, and it's hard, right? Because some females would be like, really, you had to have a conversation, that's that's sexist. I mean, but it's
Right.
also real, right? So,
Yeah.
just to be clear, well, I don't even know how you have that conversation exactly, but I
Yeah.
would rather that conversation have been had. And just, we respect all coaches that come into here
Yeah.
and trust the head coach that they're hiring the right person
Right.
for the job. You know what I mean? The whole like a girl thing, that whole comment, oh, you're throwing like a girl.
Mhm.
We have allowed that to perpetuate in culture. What does that mean?
Right.
What is it like a girl? You know what I mean? So that's been a problem. Those types of phrases that we adopt into our culture,
Mhm.
those are sexist. And then young boys end up saying those types of things to their friends. Oh, dude, you throw like a girl.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, you ever watch a softball competition at the college level?
Mhm.
I mean, give me a break. Throw like a girl. Okay, well, that's pretty darn kick butts. Well, how those girls throw, you know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
that
No,
constant
absolutely. And
measurement like that that's not fair.
and again,
No,
there's a lot of ways to go with this type of subjects.
of course.
We're in the middle of a discussion about females and what they're wearing, and what I should say is what they're
Yeah,
mandated to wear for their sporting event, from the beach
sure.
volleyball, the beach handball incident, things like that, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you
Yeah.
see like it kind of that argument kind of goes both ways. I think was there a team, I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, in gymnastics where there was a team that actually wanted to wear what they deemed a more appropriate uniform. You know what I mean?
I think Team Germany wore. I don't know that. I should know this because my daughter's in gymnastics. There's,
Yeah,
and
my
maybe
sister was as well.
okay, maybe you know the difference between a
Yeah,
unitard and a
yeah.
leotard.
I don't, is that long sleeve versus
I think so. So what
cut sleeve maybe?
I think what Germany did is they wore full length instead of the cut briefs, if I'm using that term correctly. They went all the way down to the ankles, as they
Yeah,
were like, hey, this is what we feel comfortable wearing. And then it was, I think, Poland, beach handball. They wore, I'll call them shorts versus briefs, because they didn't want, and they got fined because I guess in the rules, and this is
right.
the part that's crazy to me. It's like, oh wait, this is actually written down. This isn't just culture. In the rules, it was stated how big the band could be on the hip and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So they got fined. And I think someone famous, like a Lady Gaga or someone, said, I'll pay your fines so that you can, because it's ridiculous, people. I mean, this is ridiculous.
It's really tough. Yeah, it's really tough because it's kind of like, where do you draw the lines then? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, you draw the lines with whatever
I
you're comfortable with. If those beach handball athletes wanted to wear full length down to their ankle
sure.
uniforms, there's no advantage. I mean, there's no advantage. So what's the matter? I mean, this is just, I don't know. I get a little bit like, and I don't think some people say like, oh, well, when you have a daughter or things, I'm pretty sure, I'm confident I can say that even before I had my little 7-year-old daughter, shout out to Cassidy, that I was like, why do they have to wear this stuff like this? I don't get that part of life. When you look at the beach volleyball athletes and stuff, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we could do hours on that topic.
Yes.
But I am so glad, because one of the things I wanted to bring up, and you brought it up, you beat me to the punch, is Rhonda Riley and the US. I think it's through the USTF-CCCA. Shout out to Sam and Mike Korn and those many people that are doing a great job with that organization. They're doing their women's coaching mentorship.
Yeah.
I think by the time you're listening to this, the applications for the mentors is over. And so now I think now they're probably matching up their mentors to mentees. And I have heard nothing but amazing stories from that program. I'm so glad that at the convention, they started having, a women's coaching panel and things like that. That's how we grow more women in our profession of coaching. And that's always a positive. I mean, I don't,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you have a women's team and you don't have at the very least a woman on your staff. I don't know how you could do that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's interesting because as my, there are some, like my older daughter, she runs for the Coast Guard Academy. And they, as far as I know, they don't have women coaches on their staff. They only have, I think there's 2 male coaches, and those guys are great. She loves them. So I would never, put down male coaches in that sense. I mean, those guys are great. Maybe no female ever applied to coach at the Coast Guard.
That's right.
Academy.
Well,
I have no idea.
We have less women candidates for sure. Absolutely.
Exactly. But at the same time, as I look at colleges with my youngest daughter, who's going to be a junior, I do look at that. And I even, I even just look at, like, she's from Zambia. So she's Black, and she's grown up in mostly white communities and stuff. And she's actually, side note, recently, and this doesn't happen very often, gotten connected with her, some of her African family. So super cool. But anyway, so just that identity and stuff. So I even look at some of that, like on a staff, like, is there a Black woman on her staff, you know what I mean, that she could, identify with, or even, I look at rosters, is this a diverse team? You know what I mean? Things like that, I think are important. And, of course there are laws surrounding, hiring people based on sex and, race and all of that stuff. And those things are really important. But I just, at the same time too, I'm like, just, can we start at least, if we hire the best person for the job based on their credentials, I think we're going to get pretty good diversity.
Exactly.
I mean, right. So like, what, like, and I can't tell you how many interviews I didn't even get. You know what I mean? When I look at my resume, I'm like, seriously, you didn't even think I was worth a conversation? Why is that? You know what I mean? And then you start to think, well, it's probably because I'm female. Whether it was or not, that's what it feels like.
Well, and good point about staffs. I said, how do you not have a female on your staff? But branching out that this is bigger than athletics, right? Because we're specifically talking about college athletics here, and the vast majority of female collegiate athletes are not going to go on to the next level. Same with the males. Sorry to break it to you. So if, you're going to college, athletics should be a part of college, not the college. So correct. Is there someone in the athletic administration that could be a part of having that mentorship there? A professor, advisors, et cetera. Great point. Sure. I very much narrowed it down to the coaching staff, but it should be bigger than the coaching staff for sure. Yeah. Especially if there's not enough, I don't want to say not enough, but the amount of women candidates, I believe, I have not hired a track coach in quite a while, so I could be deadly wrong here. But the amount of women applying for college athletic coaching positions that are also qualified at whatever level that they're applying for, that the candidate pool could be quite less. But I think programs like the USTFCCA's women's mentorship program helps build that base up, so there are more qualified female candidates for coaching positions. Okay, so let's bring this back home here with you, Patti. Though, so all we've been talking about here is we left it off at Kenosha. So how do you get to Louisville? You mentioned coaching at I will never pronounce this correctly, Brescia. 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 You mentioned coaching Brescia, and then spoiler alert, you're working for the Norton Healthcare facility. So how do we get to Louisville and get to this position?
So we have been in Kenosha for about 8 years, give or take. And my husband works, can I name companies on here?
As long as they're not competing against us, sure.
Oh, okay. So he works for CarMax. So great place to buy a car. So yeah, he's working. Can I say that?
There's your plug for the day right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's the way car buying should be. Can I say that? That's their tagline.
I say, is that their logo? Yeah.
Edit it out if you have to. I don't know. But anyway, they did not pay me for that. Anyway,
that's right.
So he works for CarMax. He's been working there for that company for over 20 years. Wow. Started out as part-time sales in Naperville, and then here we are now, but he runs a store here in Louisville. So, so we have moved 10 times as a family. Wow. And we're not military, but we have moved because, for him to be able to get opportunities to move up and all of those kind of things. So Louisville came up while we were in Kenosha, and we kind of looked at each other, and our connection to Louisville was my sister had gone to U of L and had lived here for a while. She later left, and she went to U of L med school. She's a missionary pediatrician in Togo, West Africa. Okay. But she's coming home in October to start a nonprofit organization. That's a whole different podcast. So anyway, that was our connection. We thought, well, we know Louisville. And really, I mean, this is the honest goodness truth, having grown up in Chicago and lived in Wisconsin, like we were like so tired of snow. Like just like, and I like, don't get me wrong, like a snow on Christmas Day that's like 8 inches, like I'm so much about that, right? Christmas in Chicago, like unrivaled. Do you know what I'm saying? Like love it. But he was just kind of like,
you're talking to a guy who grew up in Alabama, right? And born in Florida. I can't stand it. I don't even like that song, A White Christmas. Get out of here.
And that's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. But I know what you're saying. Like,
give me the palm tree.
Ew, see, that was always so weird to me. Like, oh no, what? I'm sorry. You're going to the beach on Christmas?
Amen. Thank you.
What is happening?
That's the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still all about, that's at a certain time, but we were just seriously like up there and in Wisconsin, like you're talking about like averages of snow of like 42 inches. You're talking about like, school doesn't care. 10 inches of snow, you're still going to school. You know what I mean? So unless the air is cold enough to frostbite your face in 2 seconds, you're going to school. Like my Wisconsin peeps are like,
how can anybody enjoy that
right now? Like, I'm serious. So it's just like, you know what? We're over it. And I love my Kenosha people, but like I'm my Chicago people, like totally. But I'm just like, we look at each other and we're like, yeah. Now we have kids, you know what I mean? And we had to think about the impact because that's the longest they've ever been anywhere. Okay. So it was tough, my middle child, Emma, she went to 3 high schools. Okay. So like, and that was hard. And then ended up going to the Coast Guard Academy, surrounded by people who moved all over her life, including, her boyfriend who's been all over, and so she has a connection there. The military academy takes that factor that I learned from my parents and my husband from his, and the excellence, my kids want to be around excellence, but at the same time, she knows what it's like to move all over. So even though she wasn't military, she was part of.
They call that military brat, right? The kid who grows up and move over. We got to start coining the term coach brat. The kid who's as a mother or father who's a track coach or any coach, really, football, etc. And you just move. Yeah, you're a coach brat. You just move everywhere.
Exactly. So we took that opportunity. I had to give up my club. I mean, that was hard. I mean, I had families who rearranged parts of their lives so that they could be coached by me and my staff. That was rough. I mean, that was a rough announcement. And for CarMax, when you move with CarMax, it's like, okay, you're taking the job, boom, here we go. Plan the house hunt. And you get 5 days to house hunt. And I mean, the ball rolls and it's crazy. And so to make that we were losing. And I want to say, we always take a move as an opportunity, but it was tough. I mean, to do that. But we did it. We had a lifelong goal of moving somewhere warm. I think it was like 15 years before we wrote down our goals as a couple, and we're like, move warm. We kept moving. Like, we went to Connecticut and then we moved to Wisconsin. We're like, what? The goals are not happening here. What is going on? So, and we had that connection to Louisville. So we just kind of took the dive and did it. And then I did a couple coaching stints here in high school. I coached at Floyd Central High School in Southern Indiana for a season. And then I was the head girls coach at North Oldham High School. That was COVID year. So that was interesting. But, I'm so fortunate having come from the North, because down here where indoor track wasn't totally a thing at the time, I put 6 indoor meets on my schedule, and everyone was like, what are you doing? Like, the 6 indoor meets, that's going to count as part of your schedule. And I'm like, look, indoor is part of, like, if these kids want to run in college, you got to know, like, that's part of track and field, whether you have a season for that or not. So we ran 6 indoor track meets and traveled to them. And COVID came, and guess what team had the most meets in? Mine. You know what I mean? So that was my oldest daughter's senior year. So it was tragic, but she got 6 meets in, ran a meet at UK. They host a great meet there every year, and PR'd lifetime in the mile. And it was great. So I was glad that happened. So then I decided to look for college opportunities. Thought I was going to go to Bruton Parker again. Adam Kokenhofer worked his butt off to try to get me there. And I went down and visited, and just, as far as my husband's job, it just wasn't going to work out. So ended up getting the job at Brescia as their sprints, jumps, and hurdles coach. And, you know, I love all those events, but it's hard to coach all those things. Sprints, jumps, and the scheduling with class scheduling, it's tough. So, but I did it, and it was out in Owensboro. And I took a job that paid me a stipend at best, where I drove 2 hours back and forth every day. And that, I'm not a martyr for it. So I don't want anybody, it was the opportunity. And I took it. You know, I wanted college coaching on my resume. I did. And I tried local. I did, you know what I mean? And just whatever. I mean, I'm not going to name any of those places, but that was tough. So I'm like, I'm going to buckle down, and I'm going to do it. So I did it. And it cost me an arm and a leg and gas for sure. Sure. So I did it, and qualified 2 hurdlers to nationals, was not able to go because I got COVID. I had a pretty bad stint of COVID, you know, had a 6 days worth of fever and stuff, and was tired as all get out and all that, and got through it. My body fought it off and all that. And so, but I couldn't go, you know, so that was tough. But, you know, to know that in my first year of coaching college that I qualified a 400-meter hurdler and a 110 hurdler, you know, I felt good about that, and hopefully gives me some street cred. I don't know if I ever go back to, you know, coaching again at that level, and who knows, you know, I do still love and have a passion for coaching right now. I just coach my youngest, you know, as much as I can. She'll be running for a local track club this coming season, just because of everything I got going on here. But so I had applied for this job actually way back in December, and I don't want to say forgot about it, but didn't hear anything. So whatever, you know. Then out of the blue, I opened up my email, and they asked if I wanted to interview for this. And I'm like, what? Like, where, what? I mean, like, is this real? So, and then just did my interviews, kind of 1, 2, 3 with HR, and then my boss and his boss. And so I work for ASM Global. That's who manages this facility. That's very similar to what you got up at Gately with Craig. Right. And then Louisville Urban League, they run this building. So we work in connection with them. And Sadiqa Reynolds is the president of the Louisville Urban League. So we work with her on the different events and the different things that we can do through this facility. Not just to get attention to the facility. I want to be clear about that, but to get attention to the community, to the needs in this community. I want to highlight the fact that we have unique to this facility. We have if you recall, a Thornton's convenience store. Yeah,
that was so unique. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, like everyone's like, well, it's so funny because people are like, Thornton's, like the gas station.
Right.
Like, well, yeah, they have that, but you know, they have a convenience store, and 100% of the profits from the Thornton's go back into the community through the Louisville Urban League. And I love that. And let me tell you, like, they have good stuff over there. Yeah. When I forget my lunch, I'm like, yeah, like I get these grilled chicken skewers with some buffalo sauce. It's
really?
Like, yeah, right. I mean, slushies and coffee and local donuts, which are so awesome. I don't eat those. I'm on paleo, but you know, every once in a while, I know, right? I need it's going well, but every once in a while I do have a donut. But so it's it's just unique in so many ways. And I think I've been to Ocean Breeze. I just actually visited with the staff down at Birmingham. My daughter's raced there tons of times. I love those guys down there, and they're city run, and they do their thing, how they do their thing, and Gately does their thing, and you got to do it how it's going to work for your community. At the same time, I feel like what we're doing here could be a model, like in a lot of ways, for how we can use these types of facilities for the community. Sometimes track gets exclusive and it gets too exclusive. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to share these kinds of things. And yes, it's a gorgeous facility. And I don't know if just facilities across the country and I don't, just wherever they are, people get so the public can't be in here. We don't want anything to happen. We don't want, but like what that's not fair. It's just, it's not fair. Allow them to enjoy what we've built and give those opportunities. And so I still think that, everyone listening out there, there are opportunities for so many different things to be hosted in our facility that can bring in the community in different ways. So, we want that. And we're trying to get our local track clubs even involved and say, come out here, like Louisville Track Club or Westside Track Club, guys, come out here and bring your teams to watch the college meets.
You're right.
Bring your team to watch the professional meets so that we can grow that. But why is track and field I believe it's the most popular watched event in the Olympics, I think. It's, if
I know in years past for
fact
sure.
check me or whatever, but it's I believe the most participated sport by high school students in the United States.
Yeah, for sure. That on the high school and college level when you combine men and women together.
I mean, if track was televised more often, people would be more into it. People would watch it more. So I don't think it's that people are like, don't like track and field. I think the access to track and field just isn't there. And that's weird. Do you know what I mean? Why isn't that? So, people might doubt me when I think we can pack this facility with the 4,000 seats that it is. But I think we can. I think if we start to market and even market each other in some ways, you know what I mean? Like just come to these facilities and watch, you know what I mean? And find out what it's all about. And yes, we have a bad rap that it takes 8 hours to be at a track meet. And what parent wants their kid to be in the 4x4? You know what I mean? Like, dang it. Can you talk to your coach about that? I don't have time for that. So I don't know, maybe there are ways we need to figure out that with track and field or whatever, but we certainly, I think, need to do a better job as coaches and even facility managers marketing track and field, because it's exciting. I had our facilities, our maintenance manager came in today and he goes, and he doesn't know much about track as far as his background. And he goes, Patti, I watched track and field last night. And I'm like, did you? Oh my gosh. I'm like, what did you think? He's like, it was amazing. I loved it. And he doesn't know anything about track and field.
Right.
If people would just give it a chance, and if you don't have a facility like this, okay, go to a local track meet, volunteer for a track meet. Yes. I mean, God knows, and all the people listening know that we could use volunteers to rake or take tickets or all that and get involved in what it is. I mean, fortunately here in the state of Kentucky, kind of a shout out to USATF Kentucky, like our officials do a great
organization
job with that. They really do. And that's not to knock any other state USATF. I mean, my Wisconsin people and Illinois people, and I know those guys and they're great, but these guys, they do a great job. And they even this last, like the Nationals is going on right now for AAU and USATF, but for the USATF Nationals, they actually found out all the clubs that were going to be participating and even this is the part that amazes me. I just found this out, even asked for unattached athletes that were going. And when they got the numbers, they divided up funds and donated so that they could go, so they could travel. I mean, if that's not, wow. I mean, so shout out to Tim King, who's our USATF president. wow, like you're using those funds. You're not sitting on the funds. You're using those funds for athletes to be able to have opportunities. And, you know, some clubs in our area wouldn't be able to go, you know what I mean? And some clubs in a lot of areas just wouldn't be able to go because a lot of those clubs are nonprofit. And maybe the families, a lot of families might not have money to send their kids to something like a national meet in Jacksonville. And so Tim King has said, hey, that we don't want that to be the case. We want there to be opportunity for those kids to experience that. So that's been they've been an amazing organization. They've really helped out, and KTCCA has helped out so much, and they're huge fans of our facility. And so to have people like that around it's just phenomenal. And then also too, I want to shout out my own, like the staff that I work with here, my boss, Marcus McAlpin. He's phenomenal. He has a background with stuff with events having to do with YMCA and directed for that. And he is just, I've learned so much for him, especially when dealing with like contracts and all of that stuff. Dante McBride, he worked up at Grand Valley. So he did some event stuff with them, and he is our operations guy and just phenomenal. And then Ron Anderson, who is our maintenance guy, he worked with the Yum Center, and he worked at Churchill Downs for a long time as well. So he is just, oh my gosh, like what I have learned from him has been amazing.
Did I meet Ron when I was up there? I think I
did. I always internet.
He's like the nicest guy in the world. Yeah.
I always call him. I said, this is the guy who truly runs the facility. Yep. He's always like, Patti, don't say that, you know. But oh my gosh, like without those guys around me, even with my track knowledge, which I never want to be the person that says I've arrived, and I was not taught that way. I've not arrived, not in a track and field sense, certainly not in an event manager sense at all. I want to learn from the people around me as much as I possibly can. And even if I could be wrong about something on the track side. Okay, well, that's fine. You know what I mean? Tell me your experience. And I pick up the phone a lot and call other coaches and say, hey, I'm not really sure about that. What do you think about this? Or like an event that is not like my greatest expertise for sure is pole vault. So, I have a guy, Nick Sturridge, who actually, as a result of my club leaving the Kenosha area, 2 clubs popped up. 2 clubs that were associated with mine, and those coaches said, we need this here. And so I love that. And so Nick Sturridge, who used to coach for Case High School up in Racine, Wisconsin, he started his own club called the Stallions, and he knows pole vault. So I pick him up and I'm like, okay, is this right? Can you look at this? Can you tell me about this? And there are all kinds of people. If you're not a coach or a facility manager that is going to pick up the phone, if you're afraid of that, then you're in the wrong business. You know what I mean? Of course, hopefully in life and any job, you know what I mean? Right. Even you as the National Guild guy, I'm sure you pick up the phone, you know what I mean, on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
And consult with other people. If we can't do that, we can't get any better at the job that we're doing. We just can't.
I thought you said something pretty interesting about, because we're talking about these facilities that are opening up, Louisville this past year and Chicago. I'll call it a soft open. Craig might get mad at me. I'll call it a soft open last year because of COVID and everything. Yeah. This will be kind of his first real year. And of course, Crossplex, which means a lot to me personally, being from Alabama. That was kind of my home track, if you will. Yeah. And, Spokane is coming online this next year. Yeah. New Balance will come online after that. I mean, we're just in Virginia Beach, exactly, and we're just
Ocean Breeze. Shout out
absolutely.
To Ocean Breeze.
Lauren does a great job there, and we're so just humbled to be involved in 9 out of 10 of those facilities I just mentioned. But you talked about that each of those facilities can be successful, and we had just the sentence before that talked about on the high school when you combine boys and girls, and on the college when you combine men and women. Track and field is the most participated sport.
Yeah.
And I think, you're right about that with these new facilities, and we're just talking about indoor facilities, amazing amount of outdoor facilities as well. If we can do this right and together, like it's not, success is not a pie. And it's like, oh, if Louisville gets a bigger piece of pie, well, then Virginia Beach gets a smaller piece of pie. It's not, it's infinite. And so we already, we're not packaged real well, right? Maybe once every 4 years on the Olympics and things like that. And NCAA is getting even more popular on the TV with the ESPN contracts for the championships. But if we do this right, like we have like our base, if we count this as our base, we're already number one in participation for our base, which means all those kids on the high school and college level that don't go on to the next level, that means they're teachers, parents, doctors, like that have a track genetic background to them.
Yes,
and they're just sitting right now in your community, and they're not going to your track meets, people. So what I'm saying is, if we do this right and package it right, like there's a swelling that could happen even more so. Like we're already at number one in participation. Like it could be, we could blow all these other sports out of the water, have so many more people coming back to our sport, doctors, lawyers, teachers, parents, coming back to the local high schools and local college meets. Like there's something that could be real special here in the next, call it, decade as we move along in this sport.
Yeah, there really is. And just the opportunity right now to use the Olympics as a springboard. Of course, I'm saying springboard, and that's gymnastics terminology, but whatever.
Or swimming.
Shout out to
diving. Swimming and diving, they got springboard.
Oh yes, that's true too.
Absolutely,
I mean, we should capitalize on that. And so here we're trying to even get people to reimagine their events and bring them into here. What are ways that we can? A matter of fact, Kentucky last night on the Olympics, which wasn't really last night because whatever I was watching. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you catch what I'm saying, but they did a map and they were doing medal counts for states and stuff. And Kentucky made the board, which which was exciting. But use your local Olympians in that way. And when I mean use, I don't mean exploit in any way, obviously, but like Roderick Townsend, Paralympic athlete, he's from here. He's from Louisville. You know what I mean? And I would Roderick, if you're listening, like would love to have him in here. Would love to have him here to sign t-shirts for the youth and stuff like that. That's what we need, right? In this sport. Look at basketball. I mean, you got LeBron James, you got all these figures that a lot of youth follow. So yeah, I mean, do the kids on your track club, do they know these names or not? You know what I mean? Sydney McLaughlin. I mean, do they know these names? Because if they don't, why would they turn on the TV to sit and watch them? You know what I mean? Why do kids watch the NFL? Well, they know who these guys are. That's why. Shout out to the Chicago Bears, by the way, Justin Fields. I'm really excited about that opportunity there. Side note.
He has nothing to do with track and field. Come on, get out of here.
I'm so sorry.
Well, two things as we start to wrap up here, Patti. First of all, do you know Roderick? Because do you know him?
I have not met him. We follow each other on Twitter, but I don't, my actual first and last name is not associated with my Twitter account. So,
one of my strong suits is being a connector, right? I'm a believer in not being the smartest guy in the room. If I'm ever the smartest guy in the room, we're all in trouble, people. So my life has all been predicated on my network, right? And building it up. So I know Roderick. He and I have had several conversations. Him and I got to give a shout out to his wife as well. They're amazing. That's a power couple right there. So later on today, I will introduce you to, because I think you're right. He should be involved in some form or fashion. People need to know his story more as well. So I'll make that introduction. And two, speaking of just kind of introductions, as someone maybe in the Louisville-ish area or not is thinking about like, you know what, Patti, I hear you. I think a coach's education event would be great there, or a track meet, or I want to get married on the balcony of the track. What might be the best route for them to get in touch with you? Is maybe it's through an email or Twitter, or how would you like people maybe to reach out for event planning? So
they can my email is actually plhupp@norton NORTONSLC.com. That would be the best way. Just send me an email if you're interested in the facility in any way, shape, or form. And even if that means you just want to come for a tour. As Mike knows, I love to give tours. I really do. And I love to have coffee. So those are the two things.
And she knows a really good coffee shop. This ain't, I love Starbucks. This is not anti-Starbucks.
Exactly.
I have the Starbucks
shout
app.
out. Yeah. We have
This
some great
place was
local.
awesome.
Quill's Coffee. So shout out to Quill's. But, and we have several, and Louisville has, even if you're coming to see the track facility, we have so many great niche restaurants and things like that. We stay closely connected with Louisville Sports Commission and which Greg Fonte over there, he's phenomenal. And then Louisville Tourism. So Jen Howard and Dana Baldwin, I meet with those guys on a regular basis. We connect with them so that they can get hotel situated and everything, and just let you know what our city is all about. So we do all kinds of planning with them. And so, and that's what I'm saying, that community aspect, we have to connect with the people that can help connect us in order for all of us to be successful. So we're proud of the city and proud of what's going on. And we're new. And so, there's even a lot of stuff that we're learning in the process. I couldn't be more excited for 2022, and not having been part of that 2021, other than as a coach, a parent, a spectator, and all of that. And it was interesting. I think it helped me because I was in here like 5 times as a coach and a spectator. So I was able to see, okay, well, when I was here for this seemed to be a little bit of an issue, right. Or, this you guys did amazing. So let's keep going with that. So that really was actually,
it's unique.
God's design was pretty good there, because I was able to see it from a different perspective. What's really funny is that people book events with me, and they'll book a track event. Okay, I'm ready for a contract. And, I'm like, okay, we're going to have to talk details. And then they'll say to me like, Patti, I just a regular track meet. And I'm like, okay, come on now. You know what I mean? Like, there is no such thing as a regular track meet. Right. We need details. We want to do the track meet. Are you going to have a premier 100, you know what I mean, with local professionals? Are you what are you gonna do with that? Let's think through this. How can we bring people to your meet over others? You know what I mean? You have to think about that. Why should they come here for your meet and not go to Birmingham or not go to Virginia? Now, as I told you when we met, we like to brag about our location. We really do. And that's not to knock other facilities, but we are very centrally located, meaning a lot of people, within what are we calling drivable? 6 hours? Sure. You know what I mean? We can, 5 to 6 hours can come to this facility, so we can market ourselves in that way. And we focus mainly on track and field. Right. You know what I mean? We don't do a lot of volleyball or basketball or, and you could have courts brought in and we could do that, but our main focus is track and field in that facility. So we think that makes us stand out as well.
Well, we're excited. I can't wait for you to put out that schedule for 2022.
Yeah, me too.
I think the whole track world, while we just had an amazing track season, no questions asked, but it was still under that haze of COVID. And it feels like, at least the fingers are crossed that 2022 is going to have some normality to it. Is that a word? Normality? I hope so. So we're super excited to see that 2022 schedule and see the meets. I'm definitely going to get down to one of them to see the facility in action, not just as the facility itself. So if you're listening and you want to get in touch with Patti, I'll have her email address in the show notes. I started writing it down when you were mentioning. I was like, wait a minute, I know her email address. What am I doing? But I'll have it in the show notes for you if you are thinking about an event. I think maybe the Norton facility might be the right place for you. So talk it out with Patti and have it done. So Patti, thank you so much. I'm just so appreciative of your time today to talk about this amazing facility and one of the people behind it. Because again, if you build it, they will come, but then you have to deal with when all the athletes and coaches get there. So it's nice to know
it takes a village for sure.
It's nice to know that, when coaches are coming to meets at Norton, that they'll have someone kind of in their corner, like, oh, wait a minute, Patti used to coach, does coach, knows track, dad's a track guy. Like, okay, like Patti will understand when I come and say, hey, could we do something else here? Like, she'll understand absolutely at least where I'm coming from to create a solution that is track friendly. So it just seems like this place is set up for a lot of success. And we're looking forward to it.
It is. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you. One of the most valuable things you can give me is your time. And so I know how busy you are. You probably got, there's a door right behind her. She's probably got people lined up for a tour
Yeah.
right now to show off this facility. So check it out. Again, check out the show notes. We'll have Patty's email address there. Reach out appropriately there. So Patti, thank you again. Really do appreciate your time. And thank you for listening again. Once again, we've just had amazing coaches and people in the track and field world. We just are so blessed to be able to present their story and uplift and honor them and what they do in this great profession. So join us next week. We'll do it all over again. Who knows who we'll have next time, but I bet they're going to be amazing, just like Patti. So thanks a lot. Have a great day.